Hello, everyone. Uh, Thank you for joining us in the annual MoroccoAI conference. My name is Afa Fake, and it's my honor to introduce our next speaker, Alex Goryachev. Alex is a globally recognized expert in AI-driven workplace transformation and a highly sought-after keynote speaker. So we're lucky to have him with us today. He's a Wall Street Journal best-selling author, and he is a frequent contributor to Fast Company, Forbes, and Entrepreneur Magazine. And he previously has held a lot of leadership roles in iconic brands such as Dell, Cisco, IBM, and Pfizer. And as the former managing director and global head of innovation strategy at Cisco, he established innovation centers across 5 continents and led an award-winning employee innovation program that earned the company the title of Forbes #1 best place to work for innovators. He is also a key contributor to the global ISO standards on innovation. So we're looking forward to learn more about the theme of our conference with him and to learn from his expertise. And without further ado, Alex, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be surrounded by such smart and distinguished people that are really making the future of AI and creating this technology and make it happen. As you mentioned, I primarily work in innovation and entrepreneurship space, which is really how do we get the technology going and how do we use it to contribute to the world, right? So what I really want to talk about, I'm a big believer that AI is going to change the world, and AI has changed the world. It's just not many people noticed, and AI literally is going to reshape the way that we innovate, and it will create a lot of different economic opportunity for people in the world. So I'm a bit biased because I really believe in AI. Sounds like I might be trying to convince you about something that you're already convinced. So please forgive me for that. As I look into this transformation, and kind of in my life, I've been through every single internet transformation, digital transformation. I've learned, I've started to code when I was 14, and I'm kind of, I would say, internet native. So I'm I connected to the internet before the World Wide Web, and I was able to go and participate in every kind of technology development. And one thing that I've noticed is looking at the business world, I noticed that there's an incredible metric. Every time that there's a technology shift, there's an innovation shift, and then somehow the big companies stop to exist. So if we look at Fortune 500 companies from a year 2000, which is, it sounds like a long time ago. Yes, it's 20. I have a hard time believing, but it's 25 years ago. 52% of these companies are gone. So 52% of largest companies in the world no longer exist. They went out of business. In fact, when I think about kind of the longevity of the company, prior to the digital transformation, the internet and the beginning of the internet, the average lifespan of a large company on the Fortune 500 list was about 70 years. Right now, that lifespan is about 28. So the companies are dying at a rate that are much faster than ever. And I think all of us kind of know why the companies die. If we look at, and many of us worked in academia or in large organization and government, and when we think about a successful organization, and I mean this specifically, the org chart of every successful organization looks like this. The organization becomes very successful, and everybody, why bother? Why create new ideas? Kind of, we want to stay the course, maintain the status quo. There's a lot of bureaucracy. there's a lot of rigidity, and there's not a lot of room for new growth ideas. And one of my jobs at Cisco was actually, and many other companies, was actually to work with entrepreneurs and innovators inside the company and outside and help them innovate. And that's why I feel this audience that we're talking to is so important, all of you, is because you actually know what's coming with AI. You actually know what's happening. The majority of the Earth's population does not, right? So it's really up to us to create all of those new ideas. Otherwise, same thing happens. You see a lot of this beautiful companies that existed, and many of them just failed to embrace the digital transformation, and therefore they were gone. And internet was that one pivotal point that really led that shift, and that shift in innovation and entrepreneurship. And what I want to say is this shift in innovation and entrepreneurship is happening all over again. When we think about the economic estimates and just the impact of AI, it's believed that AI is basically the opportunity size is 3 times bigger than the internet. And if I think about it, it's for one simple reason. Internet was just a connectivity layer, right? When we think about the internet, it's how do we get data from point A to point B, whenever that's shopping or entertainment or communication. With AI, it's different because it's not only how do we get data from point A to point B, but it's really the way we do business, right? Because everything in a way, will become AI centric. And I'll talk about that in a minute, but I really want to zoom in into one of my favorite companies on this list, which is Kodak. And I know many of you have heard the Kodak story, but I really want to repeat it because I feel there's same thing is going to happen at the time of AI with many other companies. So when we think about Kodak, we talked about the Fortune 500 companies. The Kodak was one of the Fortune 500 companies. It was an iconic global brand. And at a certain point, I believe it was number 38. In 1996, which 30 years ago, $28 billion market cap, 140,000 employees worldwide. When we think about the photography market, that was pretty much Kodak. There's this, it's a world global iconic brand. Fast forward, not a lot of time for an iconic brand. Fast forward about 15 years, right? 16 years, 2012. Bankrupt. The company is bankrupt, has no money, going bankrupt, 17,000 employees. That means that in 15, 16 years, they laid off 123,000 people, lost their jobs as the company was shrinking. And 17,000 employees. And finally, in April 2012, which is around that time, a small little company that was formed by 2 college roommates from Stanford called Instagram was sold to Facebook, or Meta, as we would call it now, for $1 billion. $1 billion company that just you kind of post pictures on you kind of post pictures. At that time, one of the leading global business publications called this acquisition by Facebook Facebook's dumbest acquisition. And it's an interesting one because when you think about this, it was a risky bet. But one thing that Facebook understood, and Kodak did not, is that the world has changed. So there's this two college kids that created technology with 13 employees that they sold for $1 billion. I wish I'd be one of those 13 employees, to be honest. And everybody was laughing, right? Why in the world, how is this possible? When we think about the $1 billion right now, Meta through Instagram revenue brings in nearly $1 billion every few days. That's what they're making. And if you think about people on this platform, they're making millions. So there's an opportunity for everybody. So the interesting part about Kodak, and the reason I keep bringing them up, is there's one interesting point. Kodak invented the digital photography. They had an engineer, Steve, who worked for Kodak, invented digital photography. He thought it's a great idea. However, his management, his leadership, the bureaucracy, that org chart that I just showed you, they believed it's not really a good idea. So he was not able to move this forward. And it's ironic because at the end of the day, Kodak did not embrace the digital photography for one simple reason. That was hurting their business. Because while Kodak was in the photography business, they were selling photography film. They were selling paper on which photography is being printed in, the pictures, and then they were selling chemicals. So when we think about Kodak, Kodak was not in the photography business. I mean, they were in the chemical business. And I'm seeing the same thing when the companies are not embracing AI and they're not following this opportunity because they believe that it's going to hurt their core business. And I really think that nothing can be further from that, because historically the innovation only helped. And I really want to go to the photography example. So year 2000, the traditional, let's call it traditional for those that remember photography, was at its peak. There were roughly about 86 billion pictures taken. And then when the digital photography came out and Kodak failed to catch that, it went down, right? It went down from 86 billion to 4 billion. But let's see what happened to the actual number of pictures taken. Right now in 2024, we have over 2 trillion pictures that are being taken. In fact, I was looking at my iPhone because the new iOS just came out, and I found out that I have 94,000 pictures on my iPhone. And I'm not a photographer. I'm just the father of 2 boys, and I'm taking pictures of my kids. But think about it, right? Just because a technology showed up, it didn't, the market didn't die. The market actually grew in a multiple from billions to trillions. And however, the companies are failing to see this. So the interesting thing about the photography market is right now, photography market is at the all-time high, meaning that we spend as a society more money on the photographers, videographers than ever before, despite the fact that everybody has a supercomputer in our pockets. It didn't kill the photo economy. It created a new economic opportunity where photographers today make more money than they were making 20 years ago. And there's more of them, despite every one of us having an iPhone in the pocket. And the company that failed to listen to the employee is Kodak, which should be a good lesson for all of us, right? So when we think about all of those transitions, there's more processing power in an iPhone today than the whole of NASA during the moon landing. That is pretty incredible. So we're entering this age of AI with an incredible superpower in us, and everything in the world is accelerating, which is creating this wave of innovation. So the first thing is everything is connected. We have more connected devices than people, 75 billion connected devices. If I look at just my household, I mean, everything is kind of connected. I'm not saying it's working because it's connected. I have a vacuum connected cleaner. I have an internet connected vacuum. I'm not sure why it's internet connected because it still barely works. But the point is we're producing all this data. Everything is connecting, everything is creating data. Then we have the speed of innovation. I think many of you will remember, some of you would read about this in the books. 20 years, teenagers, iPhone is still in the teenage years. So there was an app store at iPhone. Everybody knows that, obviously. App Store, Google App Store, Android App Store, iOS. And then suddenly people started to create those applications, those software programs that were created by people just like you and me, by all of us. That market that did not exist in 2023, that was $220 billion. In all this economic opportunity, when somebody's dreamed up and created an app, $220 billion. What is happening with GPTs today? Many of you probably written a custom GPT, but what we're seeing is we're seeing different platforms like OpenAI and others creating their own app stores. So this thing is about to be repeated only with AI, where there's a new opportunity to create all of those AI apps and AI agents. And that, and with all the data that's connected, that's creating another innovation opportunity. And obviously, we used to need a lot of money to innovate. Now we don't. Of course we need money. But right now, all of us can start a business in 5 minutes. That doesn't mean we will be successful, but we can experiment rapidly. We can go to market, we can hire employees, we can hire contractors. Basically, with AI, we can be up and running a business and trying to sell a product or a service worldwide within 24 hours. That wasn't something that was possible even 5 or 10 years ago. So there's all those accelerating transitions, and AI enters, takes the world by storm. This chart, I think many of you have seen this, but when we think about 1 million users, Netflix, 3.5 years, Airbnb, 2.5 years, Twitter, everybody tweets, took them 2 years, Facebook, yes, 10 months, Spotify, everybody likes to listen to the music, 5 months, Instagram, that famous company that was acquired by $1 billion, 2.5 months, ChatGPT, 5 days. Now, why is this interesting? All of those other programs, they kind of existed in an app form. There was an app. ChatGPT got to 1 million users without an app. It was a desktop, well, it was a web browser-based application. 5 days. Right now, I just pulled up the numbers yesterday. December 2024, 250 million weekly users. So when I say we're a part of the few people that are using AI, or generative AI, I should say, it is very true. Of course, there's other applications beside ChatGPT. ChatGPT is the market leader, which, by the way, is again a great example of a company that came out. I mean, it had a good backing, it had smart people, but it came out of nowhere, and it was really able to go and create a trend, right? And now we're seeing other companies, obviously the leading innovator like Google, that are really stepping in and playing in this space, but really just shows the idea of how a small startup can go and introduce something and take the world by storm. And a lot of people are saying, look, AI is all hype. This is a Gartner curve for every technology, right? There's technology happens, everybody believes it's going to change the world. And then we kind of get disillusioned, enlightened, and that's the technology. And then the technology kind of slows down. Obviously, blockchain is a great example of a technology that everybody was betting big on, and I'm not trying to diminish it. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, yet it did not produce all of the results that we were hoping it would. So obviously, from an AI perspective, we're here at the inflated expectations. It's a bit of a hype, but it's more of a reality than a hype. And that's why I believe it's going to change. It's already changed entrepreneurship. When we think about this time that it takes for technologies to go mainstream, from the time that it really kind of invented or patented or produced. Radio was 30 years. Television was 30 years. The internet took 24 years. Email, such an obvious thing. What a wonderful thing. 26 years. Mobile phones, 27. Smartphones, 16. USB, 9 years. I don't have QR codes, but I think for QR codes, it took 20. Kind of QR codes were invented. Everybody fell in love with them. Then they were useless. And then pandemic happened. And everyone started using QR codes. The QR codes are like 20 years old. But blockchain is still to be determined. But when we think about AI, generative AI, it's taking us just few years for it to go and take off. And obviously, we all understand that it's been a development for 30 years, but it's still pretty amazing. And it's really happening for one simple reason. That one simple reason are all of you that are working behind the scenes and making this technology, as I was just chatting before joining this this webinar, making this technology ethical and responsible and making sure that it doesn't hurt the environment. So there's a lot of things that are happening backstage, and they've been happening for years. But from a consumer perspective, the Gen AI is a game changer. And I believe from an innovation perspective, it's a game changer, because the hottest programming language is human language. In the past, and this may not be good news for people working in IT, but in the past, we had to go and learn programming languages. Not to mention they were very different. But as humans, as individuals that did not possess certain technology skills or had to keep up with them, we had to go to a special computer school to go and ask a computer to do something. Right now, we don't have to. In fact, my 5-year-old son, Matthew, my 10-year-old son, Matthew, they grew up fast. My 5-year-old son, Zachary, interfaces with AI. He does not know how to read. He does not know how to type. He does not know how to write, but he can speak, and AI can go and respond in his language. So that really changed the opportunity. When we think about democracy, when we think about people accessing data and creating opportunity, everyone has access to the same information, right? And as we have access to the same information, those technologies are becoming smarter, smarter, and smarter. I know we have some of the people on this call that are actually developing this technology. But whenever that's handwriting, speech recognition, image recognition, reading, language understanding, common sense, I'm not so sure about that, but AI consistently outperforms humans. And it's even becoming better at math, right? And it's a language model, but it's really outperforming us, and it's generating code, right? So that really allows us to go and tap into the wisdom that never existed. And some people are saying, well, why are you talking about the singularity and computers that are becoming smarter? And again, simple reasons. Our brains stopped evolving billions of years ago, right? There's only so much information that our human brain can take. But when we think about technology, we are at this pivotal point right now when the capacity of that technology is becoming bigger and faster than the human brain. Before this, this is literally happening as we're sitting here. And again, many of the people that are joining this call are building this technology or will be building this technology. But imagine that we have access, all of us in our own language have access to data and knowledge, which thanks to many of you will be ethical and secure and proper. From an entrepreneurship perspective, everything is possible. So we have this emerging world of opportunities. And look, we living in this current society, we talk about a lot of things in money, right? So everybody's counting, oh, there's $1 trillion impact. There's a tremendous $1 trillion impact. And there's an impact to global GDP as well in the next 5 years. Not everything is measured in money, but what I really want to create, what I would really want to say is we can create this unprecedented economic opportunity, just like with an iPhone and with the internet. All of those economic opportunity was created with new innovations, right? So in the business world, there's a lot of talk that thanks to AI, we'll have less expenses and more revenue, right? So there's a top line growth, there's a bottom line expenses that are being reduced, and then we have a bigger margin. But it's only one part of the story, right? AI is not about replacing people and laying them off so that big corporations can make more profits, right? It's really about creating more opportunity, because this opportunity is not about technology, it's about people. And when I say that is AI is fundamentally changing and will change the way we work, right? So one thing that I urge everybody, please don't look at AI as only technology and IT initiative. AI is a business process initiatives in the organization, right? And there's all sorts of opportunities. Whenever that's eliminating poverty or increasing safety or environment, climate change, water, we have a tool set that anybody, from an AI perspective, that anybody can go and access and innovate with. And obviously, as any new technology, and a lot of people talk about it, it could create all sorts of problems, unintended consequences. In some of those areas, for example, we take social media, and I'm addicted to social media. I spend way more time on Instagram than I should be, right? But at the end of the day, we believe that with social media, we all would be more connected. Now there seems to be a belief that we are more disconnected. In fact, we have certain countries. Many of you have read the news yesterday or on Monday. Australia banned social media for any people under 16 years old. So again, new technology goes through this curve, and then there's regulation. So with AI, that regulation is going to come in, and I think it's very important that we think about how do we use AI to solve problems and not create them, right? And one of the problems that we need to solve is educating. When I think about big entrepreneurship opportunity, is educating people about AI. Just because it's a people transformation, business process transformation, nearly half of the global workforce needs to get new skills. 1.4 billion people need to learn new skills. And that is a tremendous economic opportunity. When we think about learning, we really have a fundamental shift because of AI in the way we read. Because, well, I shouldn't say we, some of us don't read. Give me a summary of this book. And AI creates a summary. When we think about business literature, that takes a hit because we don't want to go and read a 400-page book if AI can just give us a summary. The way we write, fundamentally, AI is changing the way we write. And I would even want to argue that it's changing the way we think, because we think through language. And when we go and we open a word processor somewhere and there's an AI function that says, you want to finish your sentence this way, we're kind of okay. So it's changing the way we're reading, we're changing the way we're writing, and it's changing the way we're thinking. So we will be rebuilding, and I'm not saying we should, I'm saying we will be rebuilding educational system, personalized learning, interdisciplinary learning, preparing for uncertainty, lifelong learning. So the educational system is one tremendous opportunity where all of us would have to go and help change it. And some of us that are parents are probably already seeing that, and or will see this, changing the way we work. When I think about the first strike of a union saying no AI, was the Writers Guild of was the Hollywood. And the reason it's so interesting, because if we look at modern technology, all we need to look at is science fiction. Most of the modern technology was depicted in science fiction 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. So it's very interesting when we think about science fiction movie writers that are saying, we don't want this. Maybe they're onto something, right? But this is going to change the way we work. And I have some really good news here. And again, everything here is an innovation entrepreneurship opportunity. 25% of the global workforce is involved in tasks that can be automated. Will they be automated? Absolutely. This is just the way the economy works. But think about 25% of a global, I'm sure many of you that understand AI deeply, the way you all are, you can go around your academic institution or your organization you work at, and you could say, oh, AI could do this faster and better. So there's a tremendous automation potential. I'm not saying humans are not needed. They're needed more than ever before. So 50% of today's work will be automated by 2045. There's no doubt about it if we look at the historical data, if we look at historical data. However, good news. 60% of the workers today are in jobs that did not exist in 1940. All of those are new jobs. And in fact, just the statistics that 85% of the employment growth last 80 years is thanks to technological innovation. So a lot of people are worried that AI is going to take their jobs. I always tell those people, AI will not take your jobs, but people who know AI will. So again, going into an educational opportunity is pretty essential. And AI will create a lot of jobs. To be honest, we just don't know what those jobs are, right? We don't know what those jobs are for one simple reason. When the electricity came out, I was looking this up. The forecasting was it will kill a lot of jobs because there's all those people that are lighting up the street lights right now manually, and all of them will be laid off. And all of the jobs that electricity will create will be from electricity repairmen. And that's what we're hearing with AI today. It's like everybody will be a data scientist. No, there will not be, not everyone will be data scientists. There will be other professions and industries, things that we cannot imagine. Because the same way when the electricity was invented, we could not imagine everything that would make possible. Maybe somebody, Leonardo da Vinci could have probably imagined this centuries ago. But right now, this invention is changing this again. When the steam was invented, a lot of people were saying steam is dangerous, but steam created a lot of economic opportunity and a lot of the jobs that we could not invent. Fast forward, I talked about the electricity, computing, all of those different areas in our life, all created economic opportunity, all faced resistance. Nobody was able to predict what was happening, and everyone was kind of excited and kind of scared at the same time. But throughout the Industrial Revolution, we've seen that it worked out. And the way that this is going to shift the innovation is democratization. I've talked about the fact that everybody has access to the data and knowledge around the world. Creativity, AI really unlocks creativity because we can get to a lot of data faster. Cross-functional engagement, that's corporate speak. But what I really want to say is everybody can innovate because everybody can run an idea, run scenarios and prototype and create a product or a service or an analysis. And they no longer need IT on the front end. They need it on the back end, obviously, to go and do this. So there's this full spectrum innovation with rapid results, which means fail faster and pivot and experiment. That is happening. And there's obviously significant risks and rewards. But this innovation shift is something that is fundamentally new. I've talked about the 4 industrial revolutions. This has never happened before because innovation was, and entrepreneurship was only selected to people They're highly educated, they have a lot of money, and they have big tolerance for risks. And now this is changing. And one of the other things is everyone is empowered to innovate, because AI is about internet connectivity. Over the last few years, everybody on the planet is starting to be connected to the internet. That was not the case 8 years ago. We had only half of the population. Now it's 4.2 billion new minds that are connected to the internet, that are innovating, that are creating new solutions. And again, that is a pretty incredible opportunity. So wrapping this up, what really gets me excited about AI is the fact that being in an innovation train, I know that great ideas, they don't come from boardrooms in Silicon Valley. They come from people with different beliefs, with different identities, with different life experience that are coming together and challenging each other and sharing ideas. And I think with AI, not only they can access to the data and share the ideas, but in the business we are in life, we either want to do things better, we want to make it more affordable. I want to do it better, but we don't have this much money, so let's make it cheaper. And by the way, I don't have time, so let's make it faster. And with a lot of things, we have this compromise. Ooh, do I really want a good thing, but I don't have the money, but the good thing takes a long time, and I don't have time. So we operate from a scarcity mindset. And with AI, I really think we can do things better, faster, and cheaper because of this technology, and it's no longer a choice. And we really want to be in the right place in the right time. So when I was looking, one of the things, like when I was looking, where is the oldest university that's operating in the world? Well, that university is in Morocco, right? So I believe that not only you're in the right time at the right place, but you're bringing people. Look at how many people from around the world are joining this and talking and exchanging ideas. So wrapping this up, again, this says everything is about to change, but in reality, I think we are really a group of people that knows how that it's already changed. The rest of the world is catching up. And I think there is a tremendous opportunity for innovation entrepreneurship. And when I look at kind of what would the outcome be, there's really, by the end of the next 5 years, I believe there's two types of companies. Those that are using AI and those that are out of business. And I think it's really up to us to help others learn it, innovate, and build a technology that is safe, responsible, and accessible to all. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Alex, for this rich presentation. I wanted to actually start by actually mentioning a counter argument. So
Please.
you've been mentioning like the internet as an example, but we all know that we had the internet bubble, you know. So do all companies really need AI to survive, or are we experiencing an AI bubble right now?
Well, here's the, I think, so yes, I believe all of the companies will need AI to survive. And here's why. If they're not embracing AI, their competitors are able to go to market faster and cheaper. That's the bottom line. If an organization is not embracing AI, that means that they're competing with a company that does things faster and cheaper. Therefore, they operate a different market. Are we in the bubble we're in a bubble of many different solutions. Some of them will be successful and some of them are not. The interesting thing about the internet bubble, just many of the companies that did not survive the bubble, those ideas came back and they're implemented. Right? So I think, but now we should learn from the past and do things right. And thankfully, we have AI to help us.
Awesome. I'm not sure if we have questions from the audience. If not, I can actually ask a second question?
Definitely, but could
Yeah,
I ask you a question? Do you believe you
yeah.
had a counter argument? But do you have a counter? I'd love to talk about
No.
this. Do you have a counter
Okay.
argument?
I have
Please.
actually a lot
Uh-huh.
of things throughout your presentation that I'm now
I was
thinking
trying
at,
to provoke you. Yeah,
Yeah,
please.
don't
Uh-huh.
worry. Like you mentioned that everyone is now having access
Uh-huh.
to information, um, like through AI and like through the internet.
Uh-huh.
However, I'd argue that in it depends on language first. Also, like having the resource to access.
Right.
Not everyone has this. So have
Right.
like a
Absolutely.
huge divide
Right.
created in
Right.
the world currently. So, um, how do you think we can actually foster innovation in the global south? Um, and like, what's your take on open source, for example, to kind of help this accessibility, even with the language barrier? Uh,
Well, three things. First of all, I really appreciate this, your point of view, right? Because you come from a geography and an industry where you see things from a different and perspective. As I mentioned, I might sound like an evangelist, and you sound like a realist. Just historically looking at data, 2 years ago, a year ago, we did not have this technology that we could go and talk to in 28 different languages, right? There's way more languages in the world, obviously, right? And I believe the amount of languages AI understands just is growing exponentially, right? So in essence, there is progress. I agree there's a lot to overcome and there's progress. And I think to answer your question is um, your second question, the only way to solve those problems is through open source, which is really through collaboration and open innovation and exchange. And the people that are going to solve this problems are going to be in the global south. They're not going to be in Silicon Valley. Because honestly, and I mean this lovingly and respectfully, they don't even know that these problems exist. Like you just pointed out, like Alex, yes, you speak English and maybe some other language, and you're great, but what about all the other people? And I'm like, and my best argument, but look, it's changing, but it's not changing because somebody in the boardroom is developing that, is pushing for that. It's changing because there's people on the ground like you that are innovating and pushing this and making this happen. And that's what the power of, I believe the real power of innovation is. Through the open source for this, you don't need a big corporate. It's always nice to have a big corporation supporting you, right? But you do not need a big corporation to come up with idea and pilot it and prototype it. How does that resonate with you?
yeah, yeah, it does. I I would have what I like is the need for local champions.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but maybe they would need more resources, and how do you think governments could help with this to actually empower innovation? Because uh, even in uh, North America, for example, the big corporations are the ones uh, who are able to develop these large language models and these large generative models, while smaller companies would need to come up with different ways. Because we have like this race towards scaling up solutions. Um, do you think there is hope for smaller players to? Do you see hope? That's the question.
I definitely believe so. First of all, I definitely believe there's hope for smaller players because that looking at that first slide that I've shown, it's the small players that are becoming the big ones. There's this constant change, and right now there's this tremendous opportunity for the small players. I believe in that. I believe you have a hackathon tomorrow, right?
We are announcing the winners. The
Yo, you're
hackathon.
announcing
Yeah,
the winners.
yeah.
Even better. I believe that many of them or some of them will proceed and actually prototype and create those big ideas. And then we have amazing sponsors. You have people that are joining you. But I do feel that because you're the local champions, you're creating opportunity and you're creating the connections. where ideas can become a reality for smaller players. But those smaller I'm looking at this, one of the most respected companies in the world, Google. I'm seeing their logo and I'm smiling because I know it used to be a very small player, right? And there was somebody with a dream, and the Google changed the world, right? And changed so many lives. And I do believe in that equal opportunity. And I do believe that AI is presenting, is giving this opportunity to everybody. And historically, well, the old guard changes. And obviously the government policy is the key for this. And I feel not only in sponsorship of small and medium enterprises, but education, right? Education is essential in the AI age, and sponsoring and supporting people is key. Yeah.
How do you see, I mean, a lot of the ideas are coming from people, but do you see AI helping in bringing original ideas and intuitions?
Definitely. If we're not too lazy. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a really, I think about this every day, right? I think about this every day because I work with a lot of educational institutions, and the students, I have 2 kids, and like the older one is like, why bother? AI can write. So he's challenging me that, do I really need to learn this? Why would I learn this? AI knows how to do this. And I'm like, what if you don't have electricity? But it's not about electricity, right? It's about critical thinking. So I think, like, for the older generation, I think it really creates a lot of original ideas. I think for the younger generation, it will create a lot of beautiful opportunity. Right now, I'm nervous. However, the one thing we talked about, things working out for the history, every time the older generation, just look at parents, right? Turns around and says, oh, in our time, we really knew how to do this. This is great. And those younger people, they don't even know how to tell the right from wrong. And then fast forward 15 years, those younger people create amazing technology, right? So I don't have an answer to this. I'm worried as a parent and as a human, and I have faith. And part of it is people like you that are working on responsible AI.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yeah, do you have any last word for MoroccoAI and your hopes for the future?
Look, my hopes for the future is we live in the societies typically where a lot of things are about profits. And I really believe with AI, we can, like, we were put on this planet to create things and enjoy life and do so many help others, do so many things, besides being in the office for 10 hours a day trying to be promoted, right? And I'm not saying everybody does that, but life is not meant to be hard when we have the right technology and the right tools. I do believe with AI, we have a golden opportunity to give some of our time back so that we can enjoy our short lifetime on this planet, spend time with loved ones, appreciate nature, create art, and build the technology and the beauty that we want, and really unlock our purpose as humans. And I really believe that with a lot of the tasks that can be automated, that some of this time will be given back to us. And so I'm really encouraging everybody to look at this, how whenever we are policymakers or corporate executives or individuals, how can we look at this technology not just to make money? There's nothing wrong with making money. That money makes this world go around. But with making our life better in the practical terms. And that's what I feel is my life's purpose at this point of my life is. And I'm encouraging everybody to examine some of those beliefs. Yeah. And opportunities that we can do with this technology.
That's very beautiful. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for sharing your thoughts with us, and very happy to have you here with us. And hopefully we can host you again in the future opportunity.
Pleasure. I look forward to visiting Morocco. Thank you so much.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.